thinking is punishable, right thinking will be as quickly rewarded. You will find it an effective combination.
Greetings, salutations. How y'all doing? Alright, so things were working fine just a little bit ago. Hopefully, they continue to do so throughout the show. If you're in the chat and you're having issues hearing me, let me know. So essentially, this is Whispering in the Dark, number 15, episode 15. Welcome in. We are live currently on Rumble, Twix, and YouTube. So if you're in any of those places, please do drop a comment in the chat. Let me know you're here. For those of you who are not aware, I try to do these once a month. Last month, we kind of missed due to sheer incompetence on my part, mostly. But we did miss last month, so this is a bit of a catch-up stream as well. And it's late night, like I said when I started doing these again. These are going to pop up whenever I go live. There's no set schedule to them or anything like that. But here we be. So welcome in if you are coming in. The show is just beginning. And also, this is mostly just me talking. I probably won't be bringing too much stuff up on the screen, particularly because, with the internet being unreliable at the moment, it becomes difficult to play anything without it getting really choppy or the audio cuts out or, whatever. I am working on a permanent solution to that. It will hopefully be sooner rather than later, but it still may be a little while. Obviously, this last weekend, we had to cancel SITV. I was not able to join Larry and Devil for Abyssal Musings. I had to dip out of Beelzebub, and I was unable to do a whole lot for Amira when she was live as well. So I ended up missing a lot of stuff this weekend. I'm kind of not happy about it, but here we are. It is what it is. And a lot of stuff's happened in the last couple of weeks. So we're going to go over some of it tonight. Mostly, though, we'll probably just be catching up a little bit, seeing how everybody's doing, that kind of thing, chatting with the chat. That's more or less what these have become. They're less ranty, angry Samuel goes off about something streams than they used to be. Not that it was ever like super angry. There was one we did a couple of months ago that I got kind of pissy about some stuff. Rightfully so, in my opinion, but still, I generally don't like to show that much emotion while I'm live. Aside from the occasional bout of inappropriate laughter, I'm a bit like Kamala Harris that way, as it were. So, but yeah, if you're watching wherever you be, let me know you're here. Drop something in the chat. So this week, the whole world is just proving how dumb they are. There's been all kinds of like crazy stuff, but the top things that are going on right this moment, and most of this started very, very recently. Over the weekend, there was an incident involving, a couple of children and a mother and a thing that she said. And so we'll be talking about that a little bit. And also, India and Pakistan just 2 days ago decided that they were going to start shooting at each other again. They're both nuclear powers. It is what it is. And of course, the U.S. got involved, which I'm not actually all that happy about. It's a shit show. The world is a shit show right now. Hence the title of today's show. The entire world is a hard R word. And sometimes that includes me. It absolutely does. I talk out my ass sometimes. Tonight probably going to be one of those nights. I'll relay as much factual information, obviously, as I can, but I also tend to get a little verbose about things, sometimes without thinking about what I'm saying. So, take it with a grain of salt. This is not the channel is entertainment first. Let's just put it like that. And it always has been. We do get into some serious topics from time to time, but yeah, this has always been entertainment first. It's always been, if I'm being perfectly honest, This is really more of a hobby for me than anything else. It's something that I do that I very, very much enjoy. And I've always said that when it stops being fun, when streaming stops being fun, when being a YouTuber stops being fun, or a Rumbler, I guess. I don't know what you would call somebody who does Rumble. And we stream to Twix too, so Twixt. I don't know. Um, but when this thing that we do here, that I do here, becomes a chore, becomes something other than what it was always meant to be, which was an enjoyable thing to do with my time, and hopefully yours as well. Um, then I would stop. Well, we haven't got there yet. It's still fun, so here we are. And part of the fun of this is just riffing off the top of the head, talking about stuff, talking with people. This, of course, is not that kind of show. This is just me talking with you um, out there in the as one of my favorite reaction channels, Awkward Ashley likes to say, out there in the YouTubeverse. You know, I've always liked the way she puts that YouTubeverse. That's a fun way to say it. So I've always liked that girl. She reminds me very much of some relatives of mine that I love very much. So yeah, similar accent too, which is really funny. I'd guess they're probably I have no idea where she lives, but I guess it's probably not very far geographically from where said relatives are. Um, it's funny the things that you pick up listening to other YouTubers and watching other people's shows and stuff, and some of the things that get said stick with you, right? They stay with you, like YouTubers, for example, right? Um, Back when Sydney Watson was still doing a show with Elijah Schaefer, they used to call the people who just listened to the podcast and didn't actually watch it. They called it their blind viewers, which I always thought was really funny too. For a while, we used that over here as well. Just it was a fun way to put it. Mainly because most of the shows on this channel are designed to be like there. Occasionally, we do show stuff. We do put stuff up on the screen. But they're really designed to be able to be listened to as though they're a radio broadcast. That way, with the long form content, you could just put it on in the background or whatever and continue on with your day, work or whatever else you got going on. If you're cooking something, that kind of thing. It just designed to be listened to, really. Mostly this is an excuse for me to ramble and for people to listen to me ramble. So that's what it is. Hey, Aaron Laura, welcome in. Welcome in. Good to see you. Good to see you. And again, like I said at the top of the show, I do apologize about this last weekend. Shit got out of hand with the shitternet, and it was rough. But we are doing that. Yeah, Ashley Burton. Yeah, absolutely. It's one of the things that I've mentioned before on the channel, but I don't talk extensively about. Like, we cover a variety of topics on here. But a lot of the stuff that we talk about, a lot of the stuff that we cover is, it's sometimes it's silly, sometimes it's, obviously very, very serious. Sometimes it's, um, wildly speculative. We cover a gamut of topics, but most of those things that we end up doing research in, or that are news of the moment, or that kind of thing, um, I don't watch that stuff on my own time, right? I just like to I like to enjoy my time. I like to be entertained. And so one of the things that I do to do so is there are a number of YouTuber reaction channels, both music and movies, and obviously TV shows get thrown in there too, that I really, really like watching. Some of them, obviously, like anything, you get your fair share of grifters, like people who say, "Oh, first time watching." It's not really their first time watching, and you can usually tell when they're full of it. But if they're entertaining enough, even if I suspect that they just lied through their fucking teeth, right, and said it was their first time, and it's not their first time, right? If I suspect that that's not the case, if they are entertaining enough, I will forgive it totally, because that's what it's for. It's for entertainment. Alex Hefner, for example, I really like his channel. I like what he does. He's kind of extremely hyperactive, and he's very entertaining to watch. It's a bit like a monkey on crack, and he does a good channel. It's a very good channel. I mean, I wish him all the success in the world. He's done very well for himself with this shtick that he does, and and he's earned it. He's earned it by being a character. And he's really good at what he does. I don't believe that half the shit that he says is first time, but he's so entertaining about it that I don't care. I don't care. It's just fun. Ashley Burton's another one that I really enjoy. I started watching her about 4 years ago when she was getting started up and all that stuff, and I've been following her ever since. She is one of my favorite people to watch because she's got this way about her that just reminds me of people I actually know, and people I'm very, very fond of. And and she reacts typically very genuinely. You can just tell. You can always tell when it's very real. There's another YouTube channel called Funny Little Gal Reacts. That had to be the first time I've ever seen a reactor ugly cry to the end of Serenity, right? I mean, it was hardcore how she went in with the emotions on that, and I 100% believe that she felt what she felt. She wasn't putting on airs or anything like that, and she's pretty fun. So yeah, there's a bunch of them that I watch. Um, so yeah, it's just yes, Ashley's a redhead. She's also married. It's not like that. She reminds me of relatives, not something like that. Don't be weird. You know? So, sometimes with certain news things, yeah, it's a little easier of a pill to swallow. Like, while I will actually watch the White House press briefings, I find that it's easier for me to digest if I'm following along with the reactor, like Nuxanor, for example. He's a VTuber who does all kinds of slop content and all that, and half the shit that he puts out, I won't touch. I don't give two fucks about Hassan Piker, for example. He's got this long series about Hassan Piker, and it's like I don't care about Hassan Piker. But when he does things with like Caroline Levitt or the press briefings that President Trump does, or um, you know. Pete Hegseth or Tom Homan or any of those guys. Yeah, I'll pay attention. Or like Pierre Polyev when he was running, the new guy who I forget what his name is already. He's just got that kind of forgettable face, and his name's really unimportant. He's like the blandest Canadian I've ever seen. Your new PM. So, um, but those things I will typically actually watch the thing on when I got some time on my own. But if I'm just like, at work or whatever, I'll put Nux on because he will um, not only play the entire thing, but he breaks it up with his commentary, and he makes some good points and some bad points, and it gets my brain thinking about things rather than just like absorbing the information. And it's a useful tool that way. Yeah. So um, I don't know who either of those people are, Aaron. I might look them up though. I might look them up. Um, so yeah, it is what it is. But for fun, I like to watch. Another really good one is Mr. and Mrs. Movies. Um, Both of them, I think, have been on the Side Scrollers podcast multiple times as well. They get involved with some other people that are in this, the fellowship sphere and all that stuff. But I like them quite a bit because they seem to be very genuine people. They seem to be like really who they are on there. Same thing with TBR Schmidt. There's another channel, the husband and wife team, and they're just like this is who we are, and it's nice. It's pretty refreshing. The few that have fallen off that I haven't seen in a long time, but hopefully some of them come back, kind of thing. But I like TNT Reacts, or Adventures of TNT, I think is the name of the actual channel. Those two are great. They're great. Um, so yeah, I bounce around a little bit though. I'll watch a couple of different. There's this one chick, calls herself Whimsery, right? And she comes off like this kind of flighty, sort of non-serious person, but I think that that's really just kind of how she seems to be. She seems to be actually a very deep thinker. She did one of the single best uh, analyses that I have ever seen of the movie First Blood with Sylvester Stallone. Right. It was incredible work that she did. Because so what she'll do is she watches the movie and reacts to it and films that, and then after she films the reaction, she goes and watches the movie a couple more times and takes a shitload of notes, and then she tags on to the end of the video, um, a whole bunch of things. She talks about, like, who her favorite person was, what her favorite scene was, and these are pretty standard things, but she will go into, um, some pretty deep analyses of the situations that were presented in the film, and I really appreciate that about her. I very much like her channel quite a bit. So yeah, it is what it is. I like reaction channels. That's what I watch for fun. I don't watch news. I don't watch fucking horrifying things. I do watch some science stuff. There's a channel called Lindsay Nicole, and the woman who runs that is a biologist, I believe, and she does some of the most entertaining biology and wildlife videos I have ever seen. She puts them together so well. She's really good. Yeah, a deep analysis. Yeah. So I'm not gonna make a dirty joke here. Whimsery, I think, is older than she looks, but she looks like a teenager. So I'm just gonna leave it at that. I just, it's not like that. There are other channels I watch for that kind of thing. So, hey, Paul Hadouken, go fuck yourself too, man. Good to see you. So yeah, but it is what it is, and so a lot of the times, if I'm looking at stuff that we're going to bring up on the shows, on like Screaming into the Void, for example, or something that I've got to put together for Beelzebub, that I look at as more. That's like the chore part of what we do here. That actually is the part that I actually have to make myself do. Right, just turning on the mic and going live and talking is easy as shit. I was a lot worse at it when I started. Obviously, I'm better now, but it's really just talking, right? You guys are in the chat, but if if you are seeing this from my perspective, I'm essentially talking to an empty room and a screen, right? Um, and that's just, I don't know, it just kind of comes naturally. I'm just having a conversation here, and that's really easy to do. Coming up with topics, on the other hand, can sometimes be a bit of a chore, and there are weeks where I'm just like, fuck, I got to go through all this stuff, and I got to watch all these things, and I got to do all this stuff, and that part of it is actually very much like real work. It's in a lot of cases it's not enjoyable, particularly with some of the topics, some of the subject matter that comes up is really really ugly sometimes, and I don't want to go through it, but we do. So this is what it is. Hey, Devil, good to see you, man. I thought Sam would watch porn for fun, like a normal man. No, 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 no. I'm not getting into that. But generally speaking, no, when I'm watching YouTube, it's not like, I don't know. I'm not going to say I'd never looked at naked yoga. I have, um, which is still up, by the way. You can find it in several different places on YouTube. So it is what it is, I guess. Just a second. Try not to cough in you guys' ear. By the way, don't pick up smoking. Smoking's bad for you. It causes all kinds of problems. But yeah, this week's been crazy. So we'll start, I guess, with Shiloh Hendricks. Now, if I know some of you guys like Devil, I'm pretty sure you'd know who Shiloh is. But so last week, his mother, named Shiloh Hendricks, took her son to the park. The son was, I don't know, he was young. He was like a toddler, right? Maybe a little younger than that, in between infant and toddler, a tinfler. I don't know. That's a terrible word. Forget it. Scratch that from the record. Forget I said it. um, Anyhow, she goes to the park. She's got her kid with her. She has a diaper bag with her. Another kid came up, and the reports are that he was 5, but we're also taking that off the word of the guy who filmed everything. And he may not be as trustworthy as he sounds. I don't remember his name. They did find out who it was. Anyways, this kid comes up and steals some shit out of her bag, and so she responds by hurling a slur at the boy, right? And I'm not going to play the video or anything like that because I can't trust my internet, and even if I could, um, her son is in the video the whole time, and I don't think we should be putting, like, images of little kids up on the internet. I think that's a terrible idea, so I wouldn't play that anyway. Um, Also, I have no way to bleep out everything she said, which would probably get me booted off of YouTube. So it is what it is. Hey, Pete, good to see you, man. Good to see you. Um, so anyway, so she hurls a slur at this kid, right? It's the N word. It's the one, the big one, the one, the slur heard around the world, as it were. I should have, what I should have titled this episode was "To Slur or Not to Slur." That is the question. But you know, you come up with these ideas on the fly, and sometimes they land. Sometimes you get them out there, and sometimes you don't. So anyway, after she does the slur, none of this was caught on camera, right? None of this happened on camera. What happened on camera was after the guy who filmed it and posted it, he started filming her and he started confronting her about what she said to the little kid. And again, we have his word for how old the kid was. I don't even know if he was that good a judge of ages or whatever. I know I'm not, uh, generally speaking. So, um, like I couldn't tell you the difference between most like 4 and 6 year olds. They all kind of look the same to me. Hey, Gary, good to see you, man. Very late, very late. You're not so much late though. This is a middle of the night kind of thing. It's fine. So he confronts her, and she's got her child on her hip, and he's like, "Oh, you gonna call this little kid that? You're gonna say the N word to this kid?" And of course, he's not saying N word. He's saying the full word. Um, and she goes, "Yeah, yeah, I am." She's like, "Well, you wouldn't say it again now that you're being filmed." She turns around and she goes, "Fuck you, N word." and and just like doubles down on it like a boss. I ain't saying she should be throwing slurs around. Like it's fucked up to be calling people names and all that stuff. But she's, on the one hand, but on the other hand, it is just a word, and it only has the power that we give it, right? Um, so she doubles down on that, and then she starts saying, if he's going to act like one, yeah, I'm going to call him that over and over again. And the video is not particularly long. He's just like, oh, well, we'll see what the internet has to say about this and all this stuff. So he posts it online. The video goes viral. Immediately after that, social justice warriors start coming out of the woodwork saying, who is this woman? Find this woman, find who she is, and all this stuff, and they did their thing. They doxed the shit out of her. They revealed her social security number, her address, where they think she works, her full name. She's got death threats coming in, that kind of thing, because she said a thing to a kid, right? So her response, rather than coming out bleary-eyed and teary-eyed, like usually happens in these situations, was to double down on it by starting a GoFundMe to help raise funds to protect her family, because her husband's apparently getting threats now, and she's got obviously a little kid. Um, Last thing I heard, which was this morning, which may not be accurate any longer, her GoFundMe has raised over $600,000. She's well on her way to 1 million over this. And now people are losing their shit because she said a naughty word at a kid, and she's essentially, getting paid for it. So this is kind of the twofold thing, and conservatives everywhere are losing their shit. Lefties are losing their shit because like, how dare she say the N word and all that stuff. And the thing is it is just a word. The thing that's going around the internet right now is that she has single-handedly ended cancel culture by not backing down, which on the surface of it, and for the way it looks right now anyway, might be a very good thing, right? Like you can't have free speech in a country where one group is allowed to say a thing and another group isn't. You know, Matt Walsh, who I don't particularly care for, never really liked the guy. I think he's a dick. However, every once in a while, he says something I absolutely agree with. He puts out a video this morning detailing all of this stuff, and he said some shit, including the cancel culture thing I just mentioned. And I think he's right. Like, obviously, it's an ugly thing to hurl that word at the kid, but the kid was stealing from her, so I could understand how in the heat of the moment, somebody might let something like that fly. But it also is just a word, right? It's just a word. I don't particularly like it myself, but there are a number of words I don't particularly like. This is just on the list of those things. I do find it vulgar. All right. However, it is just a word. And it's in essence, it's no different than say, if someone were to call me a cracker or an apple, right? Those are also slurs. They're just kind of funny. So nobody says anything about it, right? So yeah, hey Jacob Gallo, good to see you, man. Welcome in. Um, yeah, Carrie, they doxed the shit out of her. So yeah, she's raising funds because you know how it gets sometimes. And on the other hand, you got all these conservatives who, to use Matt Walsh's particular idiom for this, feel icky about the whole situation because on the one hand, right, free speech and don't bend a knee. On the other hand, she said a naughty word that she shouldn't have said because she was the wrong color, right? Which is, you know, kind of silly when you really think about it on the face of it. It's just a fucking word, you know? So, yeah. So, yeah. And that's the thing, Aaron, I do agree with that. I don't think we should be hurling slurs at kids, right? Just because I don't think we should be hurling vulgarities or obscenities at any kind around kids, let alone at them. Like her son was present too. He shouldn't be hearing that shit, in my opinion. I don't think this is the kind of language we should be presenting in front of children. I do my level best not to swear at all in front of my own kids. I fuck up sometimes. I do, but I do my level best not to do it because they don't need to hear that crap, right? And I don't want to be responsible for sending them out into the world where they think that that's a civilized manner of speaking because frankly it's not. I love swearing. It's one of my favorite things to do, but let's be honest, it's not a civilized way to speak to somebody. You know? So, and yeah, I see where the conflict is that people are having because like, oh my God, it's such an awful thing to say to anyone, let alone a child. And she said it to a child, and it's like, well, yeah, Walsh also brought up a point that it's probably not even close to the thousandth time that kid has heard that. So it's not like the word is new to him, but it is something that maybe we shouldn't be doing around kids. And it's just it kind of blows my mind that and now people are upset because she made a bunch of money off of this. And I was like, I don't know, maybe I mean, on the one hand, she can protect her fucking family, and on the other hand, this just showed the entire world that canceling doesn't work if you don't let it. It doesn't work if you don't let it. And that's awesome. That's fucking awesome. You know. Um and I actually have absolutely zero problem with that, right? Um the other part of this that got fucking stupid is that the same people who were praising and cheering for Carmelo Anthony here a couple of weeks ago after he murdered Austin Metcalf, and they raised a bunch of fucking money for him, so much money, in fact, that he was able to buy a nice new house for his family in a gated community, right? Or rent. I don't know if he bought it or whatever, but yeah, they're doing very well for themselves. He fucking murdered somebody, right? And people are like, "Oh, well, she's worse because she's a racist." No, she said a thing to a kid. She didn't hit him. She didn't cause any real harm to him, right? As far as I know, she never even got her shit back from him that he stole, which he did steal. Anthony murdered someone, but because the skins were on the other side, he got all the praise in the world. He's one of the left's new fucking heroes. He's George Floyd 2.0. You know, he's a sacred cow now. How dare you say anything against him? It's only just that, black men kill white men, you know. And honestly, I don't think anybody should be killing anybody. I think that's fucking retarded. I don't think it's good for society that happens at all, right? And frankly, And it looks as though all the evidence points and the witness testimonies and stuff that it, yeah, he fucking just straight up killed this guy. He should be sent up the river. He's a murderer. If he didn't kill anybody, I wouldn't be saying that. But he did. And that's the fact is that she's getting called out for being a racist and aiming that shit at kids. And to be honest with you, she did. I don't know if she's actually a racist or if she just said something that came to mind while she was pissy. I don't actually know. I know she's not fucking sorry. Her GoFundMe page clearly states that she's not sorry. But to equate that in any way with a murderer is lunacy. Like, they're not even in the same fucking solar system, let alone ballpark. Yeah, one is kind of, again, to use the word icky and fucking gross and all that. But on the other hand, she didn't kill anybody. And in her case, I will argue this too. I don't think people should be making fucking apologies to anyone, left or otherwise. Anyway, because with these apology tours that they go out and they do, and they're like, oh, well, now I have to go out and say I'm sorry. Like, you remember when John Cena went out and fucking apologized to China in Mandarin for calling Taiwan a country, right? Like that kind of shit. That's stupid. His publicist made him do that, by the way, right? A hollow apology is worth nothing. It's worthless. It means nothing. If you aren't genuinely sorry about a thing that you feel you've done wrong, don't apologize, because it's fucking worthless. It cheapens the whole thing. So I don't know. Shows white privilege is a myth. Well, I mean, it's certainly over if it wasn't a myth. I don't know. I think, and people are upset because Shiloh Hendricks, she's received a ton of fucking support over this. Like I said, it raised quite a bit of fucking money. And you're talking like GoFundMe. So these are probably somewhere in the range of like $10 to $200 donations, right? It's going to take a while to get to 600,000. And I think she's like well over that now. I just haven't checked the numbers recently. Which is a lot of people. It's a lot of donations, right? And the thing is I don't believe that they're endorsing what she said. I think that they're endorsing her not being willing to back down, right? I think they're endorsing the idea that people aren't going to be allow themselves to be pushed around by a fucking cancel mob anymore, and I think that's a glorious fucking thing. I really do. I think it's fucking glorious. And I'm glad I was here on Earth to witness it. Honestly, I like the fact that it appears as though things are turning around to a certain degree. So yeah. So yeah. Anyway, it is what it is. I'm glad that so far anyway, her kid is okay. I'm glad the other kid's fine too. I do have to ask, and this is gonna sound fucked up because he is black. Where the hell were his parents at? Right? Where the hell were his parents at? Why the hell? What is, a parent? If your kid thinks that it's okay to steal, you fucked up somewhere as a parent, right? Doesn't matter who you are. If they think in any way that it's okay to steal from another person, you fucked up. One of the very, very first things you should be teaching your children when they're young, so that it gets into their head and it stays with them, is that not everything is theirs. Some things belong to other people, right? I think our whole society's kind of gone sideways that way because in large part due to commie infiltration of the education system and the media, and so forth. That's gone back to like fucking 1909, possibly further. And their whole shtick is what's yours is mine, or what's yours is ours, That's their whole deal. Like, we take, how is it put exactly? It's um I keep thinking of the quote from Star Trek, which is kind of a common quote about the needs of the many outweighing the needs of the few or the one. But that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the to each according to his needs, right? That kind of thing. So, like, somebody decides, hey, I need your toaster. They can just fucking take it, right? That's the kind of mentality you're talking about here. And I think some of that is taught from an early age from schools and all that. And the lackadaisical way that parents are nowadays. They don't punish their children. They don't discipline them when they do wrong. So they never understand why it's wrong. You know. Hey, Ariel, good to see you. Ryan and I are going to get married and become the prince and princess of Vinland because the kingdom of Vinland will be marrying us. Congratulations, I suppose. Enjoy that. Yeah, yeah. See that's that's kind of the attitude I'm talking about there. Um, and it's well, here's the other thing, Jacob Gallo. It's not just black people doing it. There's a lot of white people going around defending him too. Because well, they were oppressed for so long. And by the way, I'm gonna put this out there too. 400 fucking years is not that long. It's really not. I mean, yeah, it sucked, and it was not great for. Well, first of all, race relations. It certainly wasn't good for the people who were actually held as slaves, kept as slaves. Uh, you know, the whole chattel slavery industry needs to be fucking buried in the past where it fucking belongs and all that stuff. But the fact is as time periods go in by even human reckoning, it's really not that long. It isn't. You know. So um but yeah, the funny thing is black people don't so yeah, it's I don't know. There's a bunch of white people going off about it too, and they're just as foolish in my opinion. Carrie, good. Glad to hear it. Fucking pushback. Fuck them. Never apologize for something you're not actually sorry for. It's pointless. I mean, yeah, that's why I said that it wasn't the thing that I was looking for. I was looking for the actual quote from Karl Marx and Engels, but it just wasn't coming to mind for some reason. The Star Trek thing was. It is a similar statement, though. You know? And if I remember correctly, Roddenberry was a bit of a socialist. He was an optimistic socialist, however, more akin to like George Orwell than Joseph Stalin, for example. Um, so yeah, it's just it is a thing. So yeah, white privilege might not be a thing. I think though that's the thing, Jacob Gallo, is that white guilt might be over too. White guilt might be over too, and that's not nothing. People shouldn't feel guilty about who they are, or who their ancestors are. I've always had a problem with the idea that the sins of the father should be visited upon the son. Right? I think that's fucking stupid. I've always thought that was stupid. And yeah, no, you shouldn't be punished for anything your ancestors did. Your ancestors should have been punished for the things that they did if they did wrong. If they didn't do wrong, then no, they shouldn't. But even like nobody's going out and punishing Kamala Harris's grandfather, who, if I remember correctly, was also a slave owner. Right? They're certainly not punishing her for that. Right? And in my opinion, they shouldn't punish her for that. She wasn't the one doing it. Her family might have been involved in that shit, but I don't know that she herself was. I mean, then again, she did do that whole thing where she was keeping a bunch of prisoners past, like making up excuses to keep them in jail for the free labor, uh, which is technically slavery. So, uh, uh, yeah, forget everything I just said there. But point is that she's not being punished for it. So, um, yeah, but it isn't a thing. Like Well, I mean, provably, Kerry, provably, in a court of law. Yes, we suspect that she was involved in all kinds of sick shit. We also suspect that the Clintons are involved in all kinds of sick shit. No, I am not suicidal, and no, if something happens to me, I did not kill myself. But yeah, we suspect heavily that they were involved in a lot of ugly things, and that a lot of people mysteriously ended their lives who were connected to the Clintons. This is indisputable, but nothing can be tied to them legally because the amount of evidence they need to actually incriminate them on this just isn't there. It's been, if it exists, it's been covered up or destroyed. And they've been doing this shit for decades. They're very good at what they do. So, in my opinion, YouTube. But my point is, if you're white and your ancestors owned slaves, if you're German and your grandpa was in the SS, if you're Chinese and your dad was part of the Red Party when they took over, right? And then started fucking off on people during the Great Leap Forward, right? That is not your sin. That is his or hers. And I think it's silly to be passing that shit on just because I happen to fucking share some genetics with somebody who may or may not. I mean, I've said this before on the channel. My great grandmother on my dad's side, yeah, she was bought by her husband for some beads. He owned her, So, and, and he was my great grandfather. So like it is what it is. But I'm not. And that puts me in this fun position too. Is like, so if we follow the lefty rules, right? That means that I am both owed reparations and owe reparations to me. Right? How does that make sense? Do I take money out of my left pocket and put it in my right? Is that how we're gonna do it? It's fucking silly. So the whole thing's silly. So yeah, and here's where it gets me is where everybody's so focused on this race war shit, right? Because this does seem to be the way things are heading in certain circles. If you pay too much attention to certain things online and certain places and people online, it certainly very much appears that we're heading towards another massive racial divide. And I as far as I'm concerned, that's exactly what the plan is. That is what they're trying to do. They're trying to accomplish because, I mean, you know how it is. If we're busy fighting each other, we're not looking at paying attention at the people who started the fight are doing, that kind of thing. And I think that if we're ever going to get past this shit, we got to stop seeing in terms of fucking color, in terms of, subcultures. We got to start seeing in terms of, at least in this country anyway, right? Larry's black. I'm mostly white. Neither one of us sees each other as that thing, though, right? As far as I mean, Larry's an American. I'm an American. We have that in common. That's where we go from. We're also both men. We've both been married and divorced. He's currently married. We're both fathers. We have things in common. We can build on that shit. The fact that he's, several shades darker than me has got nothing to fucking do with anything under the sun, as far as I'm concerned. So I don't. I think we need to get past that shit. Like, I understand where you could see a divide actually being, I guess, more practically implemented in places where you have a more homogenous society, but we don't have a homogenous society. We have a mixed society, right? Thing is all of those mixed peoples, right? Your Hispanics and your blacks and your whites and your various Eastern Asians and Indians and Arabs and Jews and everybody, all the people that make up that mix, right? We're all Americans, and that's what we need to be seeing. That's what we need to be focusing on. We have a country that we should all be concerned with, I kind of backed myself into a corner with that sentence. I started it in one way and didn't really know how to finish it, but I think you guys get my gist. We should all be more concerned with preserving and protecting our nation together because it is our nation than nitpicking at each other. I mean, I do look, human beings are tribal. Human beings do have a tendency to seek dominance over others, and they do have a tendency to nitpick over differences. This is why you see like the schisms from the Roman Catholic Church with the Lutherans and the Calvinists and the Methodists, et cetera, at all. Nitpicking over things that minor disagreements, in my opinion, right? And they fought wars over this shit, you know. Um, Hell, the Anglican Church is basically the Roman Catholic Church, except that they allow divorce because Henry VIII didn't want to keep cutting the fucking heads off his wives, you know. And then they made the King of England the head of the church as well, which is kind of a Ouroboros snake eating its own tail sort of thing. But but my point is like we're always going to find little nitpicks to disagree with each other about, and sometimes it blows up into a big thing. But I think the less we focus on that stuff, the better off we'll be as a people and as a world, really. You know. So, hey, D-Day, good to see you, man. So, let's see. Do I think if a world war, a major country declares war on U.S., would cause people to come back together, or will we still be divided? So, that's actually an interesting question because we've seen similar things happen in this country in the last century. Uh, Pearl Harbor galvanized the entire United States. We went into a state of almost total war, if I remember correctly. Like everybody was doing their part towards the war effort. You had little kids collecting fucking metal from people to be sent to the munitions factories. You had the Rosie the Riveters. You had, I mean, everybody was taking part in that. The entire country was geared towards that, and they were all in at the time. 9/11 is another instance where, however briefly it lasted, yeah, for a minute, the entire country was fucking united, right? So yeah, nothing brings people together, Ariel, like a common enemy. You know, um, thing is that it doesn't last. As soon as the threat's over, or as soon as it's not important enough, or as soon as somebody steps on somebody else's fucking toes in the regiment line, or whatever, there's people will find reasons to break apart. It's one of the things that I feared actually about the MAGA takeover of the government was everybody was so united to push forward and make sure that, the old guard who had been fucking us all for decades got pushed out. The problem is the second they were in there, certain factions started turning on each other, as I predicted, by the way, multiple times on multiple channels, right? Um, they got it under the impression that they had, well, we're in there now, so we've won. It's like, no, it's not over yet, guys. It's not over. But next thing you know, people started turning on each other who were a little bit different or had different factions or whatever, and it just these things tend to fall apart. It's kind of amazing that a country the size of ours has lasted as long as it has, actually. You know, if I'm being perfectly honest and objectionist about it, it is kind of amazing that it hasn't just ripped itself apart by now. Um, but you know, yeah. So yeah, I don't know, but a common enemy will bring people together, maybe briefly, but it will bring people together under one banner. Problem is these days we're so convoluted and we're so confused about what exactly a common enemy is that's sort of standing in the way of that. And actually, I think that might have been the point. That might have been the point with all the lefty talking points and the righty talking points and the you know, we've got the right way. No, we've got the right way. Or we want to get you guys out of the country. You guys are a bunch of traitors and all that stuff. I think that was kind of the point because we're so confused about who the enemy actually is that there's no way we're going to unite, right? And an ununited people are easily preyed upon by their enemies. What's that Sun Tzu saying from The Art of War? Like, when your enemy is making a mistake, let him. So yeah. Yeah. We went in a war between the Cthulhu versus the Clintons. I mean, ultimately, Cthulhu would win, but it'd leave a very bad taste in his mouth. Yeah. Yeah. Well, year's still young. Yes, it is. We're not even halfway through it yet. And there's plenty of time for shit to fall apart. There's also time for shit to come together. I just have less faith in that because I don't have a lot of faith in people as a rule. You know, individuals, sure. I got faith in people I know. You know, I have faith in myself to a degree. You know, and that kind of thing. But people as an abstract concept, not at all. Not even a little bit. You know, I've watched them fuck themselves up too many times. You know, I think all of you have too. If there's one thing that mankind excels at, it's self-sabotage and self-destruction, right? It's the only other thing I can think of that we do better than either of those things is, you know, inventing new ways to destroy others. You know, we're really good at that shit too. So, yeah, Pyrrhic victory is right, Ariel. Pyrrhic victory is right. Bittersweet. Oh. Yeah, yeah. Jacob Gallo, never interfere with the enemy when they're in the process of destroying themselves. Yeah, that was, I think, the thing I was looking for. So, and speaking of the world getting crazy, so a couple of days ago, two nuclear powers who were avowed enemies decided to start shooting at each other. As I'm talking about India and Pakistan, which makes, I think, the third massive territorial dispute that's currently going on right now. Or fourth, I think there's one in Africa too, or is that just a bunch of people being slaughtered? I don't recall. I'd have to actually look more into that, and I haven't. So to be fair, I haven't. But yeah, there's the Israel Palestine thing, the Ukraine Russia thing, and now India Pakistan. You know, almost like this shit was on purpose. People are talking about rumors about China invading Taiwan, which of course we're gonna have to fucking get involved in because Lindsey Graham wouldn't have it any other fucking way. It's starting to look more and more like war is going global. You know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about how involved Iran was in all of that. I think India and Pakistan just got a lot of bad fucking blood and have since like what was it, Carry 46, I think, when they split, right? Somewhere in there. Because Pakistan used to be North India. It used to be the same country. And they split, I think, over ideological and cultural differences initially. It had something to do with the British pullout of India too, of the subcontinent. I don't remember exactly. Um, but yeah, they don't like each other, and they're both nuclear powered. And in fact, when it was announced, I think in the late '90s, early 2000s, in there, that not only had India achieved nuclear power, but so had Pakistan. I thought the world was going to end then and there. I thought they were going to go ahead and start letting fucking nukes fly. They didn't, miraculously, but it is what it is. Was it 47? Okay, yeah. Yeah, I wasn't sure. BTK, how you doing, man? Some of it's religious, some of it's cultural, you know, some of it's just, you know, as Shadow of Hawk pointed out to me, this is ostensibly and officially about water rights, and there's a dispute over that. But from what I understand, what actually happened was some Pakistanis dressed up like Indian soldiers, and they went into this area in or around Kashmir, I think. And they went into a hotel and they went door to door in the hotel, knocking on doors, asking people what religion they were. And if they said the wrong religion, they just fucking murder them. Right. And this happened last week. And so India retaliated a little bit the other day, and Pakistan vowed bloody vengeance, as it were, bloody fuck you. Um, it was in poor taste, but it's accurate. And then they started shooting at each other. From what I understand, there were several missiles shot into Pakistan from the India side. Pakistan was looking at mobilizing jets. It was starting to look like full-on skirmish was developing here. Last I heard, uh, Trump got involved, and he is attempting to, calm shit down, but he's also clearly very much on the side of India and their Prime Minister Modi, especially due to the fact that they're in the middle of a fucking trade deal right now, and working out tariff situations over there right now with India. So I think he's more in favor of India on this side. Israel came right out, despite the fact that they're involved in war with fucking every one of their goddamn neighbors, saying that they unequivocally 100% support India in this. Pakistan is begging China and Russia to send them help to essentially burn India down. Right? It's pretty ugly. It looks like over the last 12 to 18 hours, things have calmed down somewhat and maybe won't escalate too much further. But I don't know for sure. I don't think I don't have any current data on that, so don't take my word for it. But yeah, it looks pretty ugly. And yeah, some of it is absolutely religious. Religious. I mean, the Sikhs and the Hindus don't get along with the Muslims. Period. They just don't. Difference between the Sikhs and the Hindus, however, is that the Sikhs typically won't start a fight. They will fucking finish it, but they don't go out of their way to start a fight if they don't believe in the cause, right? If they don't think it's just, they don't like killing. They will, but they don't like it. Um, Hindus, on the other hand, have absolutely no problem murdering Muslims, and vice versa. Muslims don't have any. This is one of the few things that I've always found kind of amusing. The world is so focused on the hatred between Muslims and Jews, right? Um, they forget that the Muslims don't really get along with anybody, and that they have an enmity with the Hindus that r- rivals the one they have with the Jews in intensity and ferocity. It's fucking ugly. you know. So yeah, it's I don't know. It just is what it is. Right. That's what I'm getting at. And the Sikhs typically, I mean, there might be some, I think, in northern Pakistan, but I think most of them are on the Indian side of the border, and they are Indian. They're very Indian culture. I don't know, they don't fuck around. You know, they don't poke bears if they don't want to start something, and they don't generally like starting something, but they will fuck you up if you start some shit with them. you know. So there is that, but yeah, it's a whole ugly thing. We were kind of looking at a potential expansion of the whole World War III fears that are going around right now. There's a bunch of people saying, "Oh well, that's it. It's World War III. Nuclear powers are getting involved," forgetting, of course, the fact that Russia is a nuclear power and Ukraine is a nuclear power. You know, I don't know if they have like nuclear weapons in Ukraine, but they certainly have nuclear technology. You know, lest we forget, it's the home of the infamous Chernobyl disaster of 1986, I think. You know, so they're no strangers to radiation and atomics. Um, and if I remember right, no, I don't. I don't want to say this because I don't know for a fact. Israel might be, but I don't know for sure. So don't. I don't know that for a fact. I know that France is. The UK is. Obviously, we are. Russia is. China is. India and Pakistan. So I think there were only 7 nations that have a nuclear arsenal, right? That have nuclear capability in terms of warfare. Um, but I could be wrong about that. I'm not 100% sure. And of course that's like if you want to count like power plants and like nuclear energy and stuff like that, like Germany obviously has a capability for it, even if they're stupidly shutting it all down. Um, that's like I think Canada is mostly hydroelectric, but I think they do have nuclear capability in terms of power plants. Not sure about that. Correct me if I'm wrong, Canadians, but um, so it's out there. Japan, obviously, has nuclear capability in those terms. Obviously, not militarily. They don't have much of a military to speak of, since we kind of cut the balls off theirs after 1945. um, do they have nuclear weapons? I thought they might, but I didn't know for sure, so I didn't want to like say that they did. Everybody's saying that they do. I mean, I'll take your word for it. I'm not going to look any of this stuff up right now, um, but yeah, the major ones are like us and France and England and China, Russia, India, Pakistan. That's 7 countries, I think. I think so. The big ones, obviously, being us and Russia. We between the two of us, we have more nukes than anybody else on the planet combined. And also between the two of us, we have enough. I think they said to like even after the Glasnost bullshit, which was really one sided. Um, I think they said we have enough to just between the two of us to destroy the world, something like 500 times over, right? Like the entire world. So yeah, it's kind of a lot, kind of a lot. So get the puck off the ice. So yeah, it was. I'm sure some of you guys out there are nerds like Carrie and I and Devil, obviously. Um, if you remember Star Trek 6, The Undiscovered Country, it was essentially taking headlines right out of um, what was happening in geopolitics that day, because the destruction of Praxis, which was a moon that produced energy, or that was in energy production for the Klingon Empire, essentially signaled the fall of the Klingon Empire in much the same way that Chernobyl's destruction, um, or meltdown rather, really kind of precipitated everything that came with the breakup of the Soviet Union. You know, so it was a bit of an obvious parallel, but they did a really good job with that movie. It's actually my favorite of the original cast movies. I love that one. So, um, I don't think Russia has that many nukes anymore. I refuse to believe they've been keeping maintenance up on all those nukes. They may not have been maintained very well, at least all of them anyway. But they do have more than they've said. When we started disarming down to a certain number or whatever, the United States did. Although, to be fair, we still have enough left over to do untold amounts of damage. As far as I know, the Russians just said, or the Soviets rather, said that they would pare down, but never actually did. They were letting us do it so that they'd become nuclear dominant, right? Which honestly is smart. It's sneaky and underhanded, but it is smart. Yeah. So it is what it is, I guess. But yeah, we're looking at disasters there. The obvious racial meltdowns over here, and people being stupid about a lot of different things, and just the entire world is a hard R word, and by that, YouTube, I mean retard. you know, when I say the hard R word. I actually thought that was a bit of a clever pun in the title there, but maybe I'm just tickling my own fancy with that. I don't know. So, Aaron, that was just this week. Just this week. There's oh man, there's so much shit going on. Like, it's a little overwhelming on occasion. And in fact, there's one other thing I was going to talk about a little bit, although I know less about this than I'd like to. So perhaps you and you can maybe help me out with this a little bit. So Alberta, the province in Canada, had started putting things into motion to essentially secede from Canada, right? Now, I don't know too much about the Canadian Constitution, so I'm not 100% sure how that works out legally there. What process they need to go through to get that. I know in the case of the United States, it has something to do with two-thirds ratification, I think, which is, of course, something that was put into place after the Civil War because they didn't want people just fucking leaving again, um, which is, on the face of it, a violation of states' rights. I do actually have a problem with the fact that a state can't just up and decide they're not part of the United States anymore. States' rights should trump federal rights. Federal law, in my opinion. Um, but I'm not sure what the process in Canada is. And but I know they were really keen to do that because Alberta is not very happy with the direction that things are going in Ottawa and elsewhere with the new PM, who again has a very forgettable name and face. He's like I said at the top of the show, the blandest goddamn Canadian I have ever seen in my life. you know, um, who you know had a very interesting meeting with Trump the other day too, where he basically got told to go fuck himself in the politest possible terms by our president. Um, in terms of the tariffs and all of that stuff. But yeah, so Alberta wants to not only leave Canada, but they actively want to become a part of the United States, like the 51st state thing that was being floated around for the last fucking however long. They seriously want to do that, and I don't really want them to. I have no problem with them Alberta becoming the country of Alberta. I'm fine with that. Do what you got to do. Be free. You know, I just don't really want to annex any part of Canada into my country at all. you know? So yeah, Aaron, that's kind of what my understanding was, is that Ottawa decided that no, that's not happening. We're not allowing you to do something like that. So it's still an ongoing situation, but from what I understand, the Canadian government is definitely as opposed to this as possible because they don't want to lose territory and resources. They certainly don't want to lose people to lord it over, as they've been doing. You know, so yeah, it's wait, what the fuck? Samuel believed in the South during the Civil War. I didn't say I sided with the South. I said I'm for states' rights. That is a different thing, Ariel. What the fuck? It's like, I mean, a war is a little bit more complicated than that. So, yeah, Jacob. That seems like the thing. But and like I said, good for them. I honestly, I hope they succeed in getting what they want, because obviously the current government and the fact that, oh my God, the fact that Canada was so pissed off at the country next door, at the president of another nation, that they fucking shot themselves in the foot by voting the same fucking toad licker who's been following around on Trudeau's footsteps for the last like however fucking long. Like, Canada, what are you doing, man? You don't have to like us, but you don't have to fucking sabotage yourselves to prove it. What the fuck, man? That's insanity. That is. That's the very definition of the old phrase, to cut off your nose to spite your face, man. Like, you are hurting yourselves to prove a fucking point to us. That is suicidally stupid. Like, what the hell, man? Which is kind of the reason I don't want any fucking Canadians joining my country, actually, because I don't need somebody who votes like that. So yeah, Aaron, I am sorry for Canada and the things that are happening there like that. That's awful, but I don't know. The more I look at the state of the world and how involved we are in every goddamn little thing, like Shadow points out, and he's like, "Oh, we have to defend Taiwan because they make the microprocessors and all that stuff, and we can't do that." It's like, actually, we can. See, the thing is our infrastructure might not be up and running, but it still exists. right? All we got to do is dust it off and make some maintenance and repair work, and we're up and fucking running again. They didn't destroy those factories when they outsourced, right? They just shut them down. We absolutely could within 6 months with some dedication and hard work, we could be up and running and making our own shit. We don't actually need fucking Taiwan for that. But he's concerned that until that happens, we have to defend Taiwan. No, we fucking don't. Um, I think we need to stop getting involved in other people's fucking territorial disputes, honestly. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that, folks. I'm starting to think I got taken out because I was saying some shit. So it is what it is. Um, again, not siding with China. I don't. I don't want to be involved in what they're doing. We don't need them. They need us. Fuck them all. So, yeah, I dropped out a little bit. So, yeah, that was kind of thing. We have defense treaties. I know we have defense treaties, and I think we should fucking revoke them. I think we need to get rid of all of them. I think we need to pull back and get the hell out of everybody else's business, and they can stay the hell out of ours. You know, once again, we don't need the rest of the world as much as they need us. Period. Full stop. No, Jacob Gallo, that was me. I got booted for a second. I thought Shitternet kicked in. It's actually been running really well tonight, and I think I've been very lucky so far. Um, but for a second there, I looked up and I was like, ah, fuck, they got me. you know, oh, I can't have isolationist talk on the YouTubes. God forbid if anybody have an idea that isn't involved in spending more money on somebody else's fucking wars. See, here's the thing, Carrie. I don't believe we have allies. I think we have parasites and puppet masters and puppets. Obviously, we have puppet states too, right? We don't have allies. We have people who use us or people we use. Period. There's no allyship there. So yeah, I mean, that is what it is. Rome made a bunch of mistakes, like that. To be fair, they made a bunch of mistakes. But yeah, I mean, we're practically going to say, well, and by the way, Canada, oh, Canada. The only reason you haven't been invaded by another foreign fucking power is us. Seriously. Like we surround you on two sides. You've got the Arctic Circle to the north, right? And the Atlantic Ocean on the other side. You know, this the Canadian military consists of like 4 dudes on mooses, and they're all named Pierre, right? And they're really, really, really polite in both French and English. So, no, I like some Canadians, like Aaron Laura here, right? Like our Canadians, but I don't love Canadians as a rule. No, I don't. I'm not Canadian. Why would I? Right? The last time I got into it with a Canadian about that, he's like, "Well, we burned down the White House." I was like, 200 fucking years ago. So, hey, it's nothing personal. I like you just fine. You know, I get along with individuals from other countries. I'm just not sure we should be involved politically and territorially and monetarily in other countries. Yeah. So I don't think that it benefits our country as much as it benefits other countries. right? And you might talk about like maybe trading influence and favors would benefit us down the road. I don't care about that stuff. I know politicians do, but that's not. I don't think that serves our people. I don't think we should be sending our tax money and our military's infrastructure and God forbid our military themselves off to deal with somebody else's fucking bullshit. I really don't. I've been calling for us to get the hell out of Ukraine for a while, right? I said the same thing about the Middle East. And when I say the Middle East, right, people are, there are people out there who are like, oh yeah, they're just siding with Israel. It's like, you guys realize we were funding the fucking Hamas too, right? And we were funneling money through Iran to both of them, right? And to Hezbollah and all this stuff. We have our hands in every pie in the Middle East, just about, except maybe Saudi Arabia. And that's just because those guys locked their shit down. But I don't think we should be involved with fucking any of them. Particularly the Middle East, though, I think is a region that's cursed to drown in blood until the stars burn out, or they're all dead, whichever comes first. And I just don't think that we need to be dragged down into this shit with people who are determined to never find any lasting peace, right? It's never going to end. And the fact that people, like I said this a couple of weeks ago, but the fact that people think a little American diplomacy is going to fix a 5,000-year-old grudge match, right, is crazy talk. It's crazy talk. Al Qaeda is a different story, dude. We built Al Qaeda. Al Qaeda were our operatives. They were CIA assets, dude. Taliban, I'll agree with you on, but Taliban was going to happen one way or the other anyway. And also Afghanistan. The only thing that Afghanistan is good for in terms of geopolitics and trade is opium and opiate derivatives. That's it. Right? There's no real benefit there for us. Being involved there in the first place. I do agree that the way that Biden pulled out was just about the dumbest fucking way possible. He ended up getting way more people killed than needed to be. And I should be clear about this. I am not for foreign nations and foreign peoples being killed. I'm not for anybody being killed. I think that the less killing we have, the better. I just think that as long as people are going to continue to kill each other, we don't need to be involved with it. It doesn't serve our interests. It doesn't serve their interests. It just continues the shit. No. I mean, we helped a little bit. Obviously, the Bolsheviks took care of the bulk of that work, But we did have that agreement with them that fed them arms and munitions while they threw their bodies at the oncoming German onslaught. I mean, prior to that, the Soviet Union wasn't a real power, not in the way that they became later. So yeah, we had a hand in it. We had a hand in everything. Ever since we got fucking involved in World War I, man, it's like we had a hand in fucking everything. Prior to that, we were isolationist as fuck, and we were prospering just fine. We had the up and coming steam engine, fucking Wright brothers, all that shit, and we were doing just fine. We were innovating, all that, but it's all kind of been downhill. I mean, if I'm being perfectly honest, I think the entire human species is sort of fucked anyway. But not that we shouldn't fight tooth and nail against our own extinction. I think we absolutely should. I'm just not sure we're going to win that fight. So, yeah. The British came up with that. Yeah. Well, they had a hand in some shit too. I mean, the British had a hand in a lot of stuff prior to us. I mean, they were the most powerful empire for a long time. due to their naval power, and they were everywhere. They were everywhere, and where they weren't, the Dutch and the French were. So, you know, fun fact: did you know that the city of Macau was actually founded by, I want to say, Dominican friars from Portugal, but they showed up with the Dutch traders, prior to the founding of Hong Kong. In fact, I think Macau predates Hong Kong by like 20 or 30 years, something like that. So, I mean, Ariel, eventually I'm just going to eat the planet and I'm not going to be too concerned whether or not humanity's still here. You know, if they are, that's just garnish. It's fine. Near enough, BTK. Near enough. Near enough. Yeah, I'd agree with that statement. It's better to die trying than to try dying, I suppose, generally speaking. I just think that if we're going to put America first, we need to put America first and stop putting all these other fucking countries ahead of our own citizens, because that's what we're doing. Every time we get involved in one of these conflicts, we're putting other nations' interests ahead of our own, right? We're not done fixing shit here. But until we are, the rest of the world can wait or go hang themselves. Go hang. Sorry. Sorry, YouTube. Shouldn't have put it like that. So, yeah. It's always you guys. Which of you guys you talking about, BTK? Because I did notice something the other day. Antifa has made a resurgence. They've started showing back up in the news. So, yeah, I'm surprised that they haven't been designated a terrorist organization like so many others have in the last fucking 3 months. Which I don't have an issue with those organizations being designated that. I just don't understand why Antifa is not one of them. They're a domestic terrorist organization, and they should be treated as such. Yeah. So anyway, I think gold or platinum. Yeah. I think that the sooner we get off fiat currency is fucking everything up. Yeah. Yeah, it's been a real problem. I think not just for the United States, but for the entire world. I mean, we've been so wrapped up in world economies that everything that happens to the U.S. dollar happens everywhere else, right? Um, and yeah, the whole fiat thing, the whole it has worth because I say it has worth, not because it has anything backing it. Um, kind of mentality has made a handful of people very, very rich, and it's sort of fucked everyone else. So. Carrie, maybe you can help me out here. When did the Federal Reserve become a thing? I think it was 1919, but no. I'm thinking World War One. Early 20th century, I think. It was before the stock market crashed, 1929. Yeah, it was before then. Because you gotta keep in mind too, Ariel, that it's not. So the Federal Reserve is not actually a government organization. It's a consortium of banking interests. So, yeah, but I think the Federal Reserve's been around for a while. It might have been late 1800s. Might have been. Might have been. I'm not 100% sure when the Federal Reserve got started. I'll have to look that up. Um, so Samuel has a hoodie. I have lots of hoodies. I'm a very hoodie oriented dude. They come in handy when you live in the one part of the country that's like equal parts frozen north and old west, and all of the suck. Hoodies are useful. It was the early 1900s. Yeah, I somewhere in that region. So I don't know the exact date off the top of my head, but it's been a net negative for pretty much everybody except for a handful of families who were already making money hand over fist for several centuries prior to the founding of this country in Europe. Rothschilds, I'm looking at you. Yeah. Looking at you guys who were more or less in the same business and possibly just a renamed branch of the Medicis, who controlled all of finance out of Florence in the Renaissance. Yeah. Good buddies with Niccolo Machiavelli. Not not good people at all. Oh, and also with Rodrigo Borgia and Cesare and Lucrezia Borgia. Also really fucking evil people. And one of them became Pope. So it's 1913. Okay. Yeah, that works. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know what we should I think trading with other nations isn't necessary for the United States. It is for other nations. Not every nation has the abundance of resources that the United States does, right? Within our own borders. We have enough resources to maintain ourselves, perhaps not indefinitely, but definitely for a much longer period of time than almost any other nation on earth. Most nations have an abundance of some resources. We have an abundance of almost everything we could need. You know, and what we can't need, like we bring manufacturing back here, we can synthesize most of it. So I wouldn't worry about the United States if we get to a point where we're making stuff ourselves again. That I think is key, is bringing manufacturing back to the United States is the key to moving forward. And I think that the tariffs are aimed at doing that. I don't know um, if it's going to work out totally like that, just the way things are going. It may. I don't know. I can't see the future, but I think that's what the aim of the tariffs was not to punish other nations, but to incentivize foreign companies to build factories here, to bring jobs here, to bring manufacturing here, right? Put that American seal of approval on things. You know, we used to have a phrase when I was growing up: "Buy American." Right? You don't hear that so much anymore, mainly because you can't buy American. Not much of anything, really. There's a handful of companies out there that are talking about, homegrown and American made, and I applaud them, but they're in the extreme minority these days. Almost everything we get is a cheap piece of fucking South Asian crap. You know, so it is what it is, and that's like you can afford to make stuff in mass as cheap pieces of plastic crap if you employ child labor, Uyghur slave camps. You know, I don't think they have any Falun Gong people doing slave labor anymore because I'm pretty sure all those guys are dead. But they were, right? They work these people to death and then they harvest, especially with the Uyghurs, they harvest the organs and sell them to the Saudis. Probably other people in the Middle East too, but the Saudi royal family, would pay high dollar for halal organ transplants, and it's not like they don't have the money to throw at it. So sorry, that was a little off topic, but it is what it is. Yeah. And that's the other thing, BTK. We need to start making shit to last again. This planned obsolescence shit is really fucking things up. Like people talk about, oh, we gotta, have a sustainable economy and we can't be harming the environment. I was like, you want to not harm the environment? Don't make shit that's made to be fucking thrown away. Right? That's made to break and have to be replaced. Like I understand why they're doing it. It's fucking pure profit at that point. Right. But if you make shit to last, right, then you don't have that issue. Maybe the CEOs take home a little less profit and all that stuff, but they also build a reputation for making reliable, trustworthy, and long-lasting products too. So, and that reputation is also worth some amount of currency. So yeah, it is. Everything's cheap and everything's fucking disposable. And thing is it's not. It's not disposable at all. We can't be throwing all this shit away. You end up with fucking Puerto Rico, when you just start throwing everything away all the time, right? They have a serious trash problem out there, and it's an island, so it's not like they've got another place to put it. So anyway, I don't know about better mousetrap. I know people have designed more humane mousetraps, which aren't that humane, by the way. I've been talked into using them by my ex-wife a number of times, and honestly, the snap trap is the best mousetrap. It is the most humane way to deal with the things. Period. It just is. Like, you don't want to poison them because it's a fucking agonizing death. You don't want to use glue traps because they panic and they shit themselves and they end up starving or dying of thirst, which is an awful fucking way to go, right? You don't want to catch and release them because again, same thing. They panic, they shit and piss all over themselves. They smell like fear and adrenaline. So the second you release them, they're going to get killed by a predator anyway, right? It's just better to fucking snap trap them. I think the original mouse trap is, or the mouse trap, the one that we all think of as the mouse trap or the rat trap or whatever, is the nobody's been able to improve on it ever. Like it was a near perfect fucking design. So yeah, it is. We are in fact disposable to a globalist. Never forget that you, dear viewers, dear listeners, are the carbon they want to reduce, which is silly too, because any second grade fucking science graduate can tell you that CO2 is a good thing, right? Like, obviously we can't breathe CO2, but you know what can? The fucking plants that produce O2 that we need, right? So, it's just in the levels they're talking about reducing it is anytime anybody tells you that we need to reduce carbon emissions because of CO2 is full of fucking shit. Now, there's a case to be made for carbon monoxide. Sure, I could get on board with that. Plants can't breathe in it and it kills us. But carbon dioxide, not so much. Not so much. That's just a bunch of horse shit. One of my cat's mouth is a good mousetrap. I just wish she stopped bringing it to me. She's doing that because she's a bastard. All cats are bastards. It's in their DNA. They can't help it. Oh. What the fuck? Because they're lazy. They're not as limber and mobile as the trees in the Lord of the Rings, that's for sure. I think all of us do at some point. I'm probably going to be here for a while, though. It's fine. It's fine. But yeah, so I don't know. I just kind of wanted to catch up with you guys tonight. I know, like I said at the top of the show, if any of you guys missed it, I am sorry about this last weekend. I wasn't planning on having to cancel everything. It just kind of worked out that way with the internet. I'm glad it's working really well tonight. Hopefully that keeps up through this weekend. I am working on a more permanent solution to this. Might be a little sooner than I had initially projected, but it's still going to be a minute. And all of that. So I just, but I do apologize about having to cancel SITV and to dip out of Abyssal Musings and Beelzebub and Amir's show. All that I wasn't able to be very present for much of anything this weekend. It was really frustrating. So that's part of the reason we're doing this stream tonight. The other part of the reason is because I meant to do it early last week, if not the week before that, and I fucked up and I missed my window. So this is technically the April Whispering into the Dark. I'm going to try and do another one towards the end of this month, and that'll be the official May one, kind of thing. So it is what it is. You might love it. I don't fucking love it at all. So, but Mars has ice. Yeah, well, so does half of the asteroid belt and Pluto. Like ice is an abundant resource in the universe. So it's everywhere. Oh, excuse me. I just belched all over the microphone. That was gross. Hard recycling. I mean, recycling is kind of retarded. Like, if you build things to last, you don't have to recycle them. I'm just saying. You know, and nobody does recycling anyway. You know what happens when you got those two bins, right? You've got the green one that goes to the dump, and you've got the blue one that's supposed to go to the recycling center. You know what happens when they pick that shit up? They put them into two different sections of the garbage truck, and it all goes to the fucking dump. They don't actually recycle anything, right? So even when you think you are recycling, you're not doing it because they're not doing it because the recycling centers aren't up and running everywhere. You know, they're mostly just for show. They're to make people feel good about, doing their part to help the planet. It's like, nah, if you want to recycle something, fucking turn it into something else that's useful for you, right? Don't, like take your old milk jugs, make, I don't know, other stuff out of them. I saw a guy the other day on YouTube took a couple of those old, the water jugs you get for the water coolers. They turn them upside down. You press a little thing and the water comes out. A couple of those jugs, he taped them together and made a fucking plasma cannon out of them. It was awesome, right? That's recycling, in my opinion. He made something amazing out of what's essentially going to the dump anyway. So, but yeah, they're not actually recycling that shit, even when they tell you they are. Yeah. I mean, you might look into your local situation, man. I just know that where I live, they put those recycling bins out and people some people use them. Most of them don't. But the ones who do use them are not understanding that we don't actually have a recycling plant within fucking 400 miles of here. It's not going to those places. It's going to the dump. It's outside of town. So, yeah, it is what it is. So, it's one of the funniest things I've ever read. Ariel says, I may not recycle all the time, but at least I clean up my cans at the lake. I fill them with water and let them sink. Oh, and on that note, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to call it a night. I know it's late. It's almost 2 a.m. here, so I'm going to let y'all go, but I appreciate all of you guys showing up and hanging out with me tonight. Like I said, I'll do another one of these towards the end of the month to kind of make up for the missed couple of weeks there. But definitely appreciate you guys being here. Appreciate you guys hanging out. Let me rant and rave about some stuff. And actually, hey, guess what? The hashtags that I put in the description, I actually covered most of that shit tonight. So good on me. It almost never happens, but here we are. So anyhow, have a great night, everybody. We'll see you guys on Friday for Abyssal Musings and so forth. Hopefully, with everything will go smoothly this week. So, yeah. See you then. Remember, it could always be worse. It could be raining flaming cobras. Bye.